Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to another Akman's Diary episode. Today we'll be having a very great conversation. And I'd like to quickly mention here that this program is sponsored by GP Magnet and also Somerset Wine. And we are coming to you on the stable of Age TV in Durban, South Africa. And today we'll be having a very important conversation around the presidential preparation to the preparation election that is happening next year in Nigeria. And before I introduce the subject matter, I'll quickly want to introduce our guests, three very important guests that are joining us to this evening for this conversation. And I'm being joined today by John Obiora Godfrey. He's a shipping guru and also in the maritime business and also infrastructure development consultant. He has interfaced with a lot of multinational corporations, both in Nigeria and West Africa. And he's a motivational and inspirational speaker on Pan-Africanism and also a promoter and facilitator of trade within Africa and rest of the world. Welcome, John Obiora.
Thank you very much.
Also joining us is Ikechukwu, who is a clinical psychoanalyst, a businessman and a human resources manager, and also a philanthropist. He is involved in educational training, especially for the less privileged people in the society. He's very passionate about education, and he believes that every child deserves to be educated. He's currently the coordinator of Labour Party Nigeria in South Africa. And of course, we're also being joined by Adetunji Omotola, who has a master's degree in communications research from the University of Leicester. He also holds a LLB law from South Bank University in London, and is a graduate of sociology from the University of Lagos in Nigeria. His qualifications include stockbroking, certificate in wine and Cape Wine Academy, and certificates in real estate and insurance from the UK and South Africa, respectively. He's an alumnus of the Henley Business School. It's an executive speaker program, He also has affiliation with Bloomberg Media Certified Financial Journalist. In other words, he's a certified financial journalist. He holds a certificate of attendance in Mandarin from the WIT Language School. Mandarin is the most spoken language in China. I think over 1.4 billion people also thereabouts speak Mandarin. So that's an important CV for Tunji Omotola. He's an African enthusiast dedicated to telling the African story across the continent on an array of topics, dealing with politics, economics, human rights, and current affairs. Tunji is frequently invited to speak on Africa's challenges and opportunities at conferences such as the Bathurst Foundation, Konrad Adenauer Foundation, Africa Swing States, Lake Como, for instance, in Italy 2015. He's a corporate leader and also has interest in and knowledge about places like Dow Chemical, expanding into Nigeria, Johnson & Johnson, Cape Town, Cliff. There's a lot. This is a man that is loaded. He also talks about Nigeria's challenges, about the new government, the responses, and he's also a regular speaker at the Gordon Institute of Business Sciences, South Africa and Nigeria Chamber of Commerce, and the Institute of African Renaissance. Tunji is a frequent speaker on the theme Africa in the 21st century. He's heavily connected to the African ambassadors, multilateral, Pan-African organizations such as African Development Bank, NEPAD, UNECA, African Union, Pan-African Parliament, and the African Progress Panel and United Nations. Tunji, I'd like to welcome you to this session, and quite impressive CV you have. And Izzy also say welcome, the coordinator of Labour Party in South Africa. while I had mentioned in my intro that we'll be having a conversation around the Nigerian presidential election, but we want to narrow this conversation to a certain movement which is almost unprecedented in the Nigerian political communication space. And that is a group of people that is called the OBI-DIENT movement. And the OBI-DIENT movement is a movement that is pushing the political aspiration of the presidential candidate of Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi. So today we want to look at this new phenomenon, this new, if you like, in Nigeria, this new rave. Is it going to translate into actual votes in 2023? Or is it just a flash in the pan? Or is it just an activity on the social media? So that's what we have empaneled this great gentleman to have a conversation around. And I'd like to quickly start with Obiora, who is here with me in the studio, to start by asking him to give us an explanation on exactly what is the concept of OBI-DIENT movement.
Thank you very much. OBI-DIENT movement is just an inspiration formed by a good heart desire to initiate needed change in Nigeria. If you look at what is happening at the moment, you will find out that the present administration is not going too well for Nigeria and all Nigerians. And you look at what people are going through, is something that we need to visit and figure out a way to transform the life of Nigerians because we have the resources. We have found out that it's acts of mismanagement, embezzlement, and also having inexperienced people at strategic areas of governance in Nigeria. OBI-DIENT movement is born out of hard desire to bring Peter Obi into the leadership of Nigerian government. Peter Obi has the capacity, he has the wherewithal, he has the experience, he has managed both in private and in public sectors, has been very successful. And we look at him as somebody who is very, very financially prudent and is a fund manager. So we believe that Peter Obi, if he's given the chance to lead the affairs of Nigeria, there will be a transformation that will affect all Nigeria and all Nigerians, and also Nigerians in diaspora. So OBI-DIENT movement or OBI-DIENT is a word born out of hard desire for a transformation needed radically to ensure that Nigeria comes back to life, because Nigeria, everybody knows, is in a lack support, and we need Peter Obi on board to resuscitate Nigeria. Thank you.
Okay. Ikechukwu, let me quickly come to you. You are the coordinator of Labour Party in South Africa. I'd like you to address these two issues. Obiora just talked about being a prudent manager, being a successful businessman and all that. Is that the basis of OBI-DIENT as far as the people that are involved in this movement, which interestingly are the youth and the middle class? Is that basically the concept of OBI-DIENT? And how does that also relate with South Africa? I mean, we just saw during the week from last week and this week that Peter Obi had a diaspora tour to North America and some European countries. How does that in any way affect Nigerians that are living in South Africa? And why are Nigerians in South Africa interested in the OBI-DIENT movement? And while you're addressing that, is there a difference between Labour Party and the OBI-DIENT movement?
Yeah, good evening, James, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to throw more light or to talk about this movement. I call it a movement because it is a political movement. And it's a revolution on its own because, I mean, who wouldn't want Nigeria to change? Who wouldn't want Nigeria to have a new face? Who wouldn't want things to work in Nigeria? You talk about the concept of obedience. Well, a concept, as you know, is an idea put together for a better purpose. And looking at what is happening in the country today, it is a storm that is taking over Nigeria. Let me even start. Obedient is an acronym. It's a word coined out of Peter Obi's name. They say, Obi, you have to be obedient. This is a man who has stood the test of time. This is a man who has showcased who he is, how prudent he is in governance, in management. This is a man who started like every other human being, like me and you, and worked himself up to where he is today. You see, the obedience, the O in obedience stands for organized. Being organized, having a direction, having a purpose. The B is broad-based. Broad-based means encompassing. It covers the whole country, regardless of ethnicity, religion, and wherever you come from. As long as you're Nigeria, it's time for a new face, a new Nigeria. Our people go to school and not be on strike for 7 months, 8 months, and nobody is doing anything about it. Where our parents can go to their farm without being butchered or slaughtered. We're talking about the I in the obedience, which is inclusiveness. This is a movement that includes from the old to the youth to the young. It is not, nobody is left out. And as we turn out every day, the movement is spreading like wildfire down to the rural areas. Recently, one of our members is in Edo State. He went to the rural area in Auchi, where people doesn't even know a lot of things. He took the obedience down there. And the old people who have retired, who cannot work, are beginning to understand that there's a new Nigeria coming. Their pensions will be paid. They will get welfare for their upkeep. Then the D is democratic. Labour Party stands for government of the people by the people. We're not talking about government of people, of the cabals. We're not talking about government that lies during the election and do another thing after they are in power. We're not talking about government that after their welfare. The worst part of this government is that they stole our money, they stash it in foreign land, where the money are taken at the back, and our people are suffering. We want to change the narrative. And the I is international. You talk about diaspora. Now, looking at the things that happen, the contribution, like diaspora are contributing a lot to the development in Nigeria. The money remitted from diaspora to Nigeria every year, I cannot mention figure, but we know the effect. Most of us here, the fact that our family are feeding today is because we are in diaspora sending money. It's not because of what the government is doing. And the E is excellence driven. This is a man we have found that has been checked all around, and his record is impeccable. This is a man who turned out Anambra State around, and even today, after he left office, his investment for the state are still yielding dividends. Then the N is Nigeria. Nigeria for every ethnic group. It doesn't matter where you're from. You're from South James. I'm from the east. Tunji is from the west. And we have the Hausas, the Middle Beltans. This is what the movement is about. That is obedient. Nigeria for every ethnic group. It's not Nigeria for some ethnic group. It's not Nigeria being marginalized that every parastatals, the head of parastatals are coming from an ethnicity, even down to our local villages. No. And we're talking about transparency. That is the T. In governance, that's the last word, that's the last letter in the word obedience. Transparency in governance. Transparency in governance. I want you to understand that. A government that the citizen can see exactly what they're doing, a government where the citizens will be confident to give out, to dedicate their time, their manpower, their resources, because the government is transparent, because the government is giving them what they want, because the government is answerable to their problems. Do you know the trend in Nigeria? A young man wakes up in the morning, he goes to the church to pray to God to give him job. This is what the government is supposed to do for him, to produce job, provide job for him. Churches don't provide job, but we have been psychologically bamboozled to the point where the things that we can do for ourselves, we are going to the churches to pray for God to do miracle, for it to happen.
Okay,
Who are
Ikechukwu, I just wanted to tie this up with the ideology of the Labour Party. Is there a relationship between the acronym that you just said, the
yes,
philosophy of obedience, and also the ideology of Labour Party?
Yes, I'll tie it up now. Labour Party, the word labor is for every working Nigerian. As a matter of fact, every Nigerian that is working daily is a member of Labour Party. Obedient is a collection, like I said, an acronym. This is a group of youth, elderly, everybody is joining it, that integrated themselves into a political party that stands for all. Labor movements are always known to fight for the common people, and Labour Party is here to fight for every Nigerian. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Tunji, let me come to you. You are in the communication space. So I'd like you to look at how, so far, how effective has the obedient movement been from a political communication point of view? And also, Labour Party, particularly the Labour Party in the UK, came out from the Workers' Union. And indeed, most of the left ideology globally, they also have some kind of affiliation with workers and all that are revolting against what they think is an oppressive capitalist system by employers. Now, is this the case in Nigeria? And is the Labour Party in Nigeria affiliated with the Nigerian Labour Congress? I'm saying this from the concept of the fact that the union that is an association of the teachers, the university teachers in Nigeria, have been on strike all this while. So how has the obedient movement helped in explaining the problems, the challenges of the labor philosophy in Nigeria, and how has it affected the ASU strike that is ongoing in Nigeria?
Okay, Dr. Akman, thank you very much for those questions. Good evening, everyone. I call myself Adetunji in full. I don't abbreviate my name, but
okay.
Most people tend to call me Tunji because it is easier. So let me first, before I answer those very important questions about the political communications of Peter Obi and whether there's a link, if you like, between Labour Party and the labor organizations in Nigeria, I just wanted to first say that I must commend Peter Obi for his bold step into the arena of presidential politics. As some of you would know, or many of us, to run for president of Nigeria is not for the faint-hearted. In a lot of deep pockets, there's a lot of tribal, religious connotations. The country is got about 350 ethnic groups with about 500 languages, and it's very difficult to come from nowhere. And if we look at the hegemony of Nigeria's history, we know we have a north-south dichotomy, and we know we also have what we call the zones now, 6 geopolitical zones. So if you come from a zone, in fact, some states in Nigeria have as many voters as the number of people in a particular zone. If you look at the big states like Kano and so on. So for Obi to come out, I say it was
Kano,
run.
Kaduna, and Katsina.
Yes, absolutely. Kano, Kaduna, and Katsina. So for Peter Obi to come out, only 4 years ago, he was Atiku's assistant, struggling
with Oshibajo to look good on camera. That was his first attempt to speak to Nigerians on the national stage, and he did quite well. So I wanted to first preface that what Obi has done is a very brave man, because not many people can just jump into the ring. Now, in terms of his message, I think he's done quite well. I think it's not easy in a very noisy environment like Nigeria to be on message. He's been able to get a lot of coverage. And I suspect the reason for that is that the people that he's running against, they hardly speak. And when they speak, they tend to speak for a very short time. So Atiku is not somebody who speaks a lot. And also, Tinubu doesn't really say a lot of things. People tend to speak, you know, the big man syndrome in Africa, people tend to speak for big politicians. So that has helped Obi. I think he's done more interviews than his opponents. He's spoken in small places. He's spoken in big places. You know, yeah. So he travels around. People like him. He carries his own luggage, and everybody wants to see themselves in their leader. And I think that is one of the reasons why Obi has attracted so much traction. But in terms of the party, many of you will recognize that Obi was in PDP up till May. I mean, Obi's even Labour Party, I don't think he's settled down there, because there's been so much hype about him leaving PDP. 1 minute he was there, the next minute he's left. In fact, they were looking for which party to go to. If you remember Doyin Okupe, who says that they don't even know which party yet. So I suppose they must have looked for a party that had low-hanging fruit. So I don't think Obi in Labour is like an Oshiomhole, for example, a trade unionist that has been on the shop floor. Obi is a very rich man. He's a billionaire. He's a former chairman of a bank. The fact that he's in Labour Party, people shouldn't get it twisted, that he's now a friend of the masses. Obi cares, like most of us care, but he's not a friend of the masses. Because the fact that he's in Labour Party doesn't mean that he's a friend of the masses. He cares, but he's not a Labour as in your Oshiomhole and you know, people who cut their teeth on the factory floor, bargaining, yeah, for people, yeah, Modu and so on. That's not Obi. He's a banker, very rich man, businessman, imports a lot, has houses in London. So, but as a politician, he connects with the ordinary man. He speaks about people's problems, and I think that has given him advantage over his opponents. But you know, all of this hasn't been tested yet, and until you're on the ballot and people vote for you, we can't really talk about you know, they talk about in politics, has it translated to votes, you know, counted votes. That's when you begin to talk about real politics. So I'll leave it there for now.
Okay, I'd like to stay on you on the issue that you raised about the typical ideology of labor. And if you listen to some of the conversations that Obi has put forward, most of his program seems to have some capitalist bent. I mean, he's talking of production, owner of production and all that, okay? And the typical labor is usually from the left. We're looking at the concept of Karl Marx. Most labor people look at issues from a social point of view of collective ownership and stuff like that, and also trying to fight against the what quote and unquote the oppressive ownership of production by the capitalist class. Now, if from what you have said, Obi being a businessman, controlling factors of production, and now aligning with a movement that is usually associated with people who believe in collective ownership of factors of production. Do you think, from a communication point of view, that this can create a mixed messaging?
Well, look, you and I know that, look, you know, let me give you some background, how we got here. How did we get here? That Obi is now running in a party that just a few weeks ago, maybe only 2 or 3 people would know of them in terms of the audience here. It's not ABGA, it's not, you know, all those other parties, even Showore's party, you know, I mean, who was the presidential candidate? Who was the presidential candidate of Labour Party in 2019 elections?
Can't even remember.
You know, I don't think anybody here can tell us. So I think what has happened is Obi was forced to jump ship. And once he jumped ship, as I said earlier, he needed to look for low-hanging fruits where he'll be able to get the ticket without that. Because remember, he's the man who says that he doesn't pay for anything. So why will he go to a party where they're going to tell him to bring $50 million? And I think that's, you can see that there's still a lot of wranglings underneath, that we don't know about, but we keep hearing that there's some problems. And there's likely to be problems because if the party starts seeing billions of dollars or billions of naira, people get greedy, before the election, anything can happen. But what I'm saying is that let's even put away the platform that Obi is using. We know in Nigeria, people just go and grab a platform because they want to contest. And when they lose, they disappear completely. We know a lot of people. I mean, Dele Momodu, he did that a few years ago. Then he came to PDP this time just to show face, paid 140 million, and he's disappeared again. What's his name? Dimeji Bankole came to his APC. He was in PDP as a speaker, came out and ran against Tinubu at the convention. He says he's going to step down for Tinubu. So we know Nigerian politics is different. It's not as ideological as the UK or even in South Africa where EFF, they say we're going to nationalize land, we're going to take banks. We're taking over, very leftist. In Nigeria, there's no ideology. But what we know is that Peter Obi is different from the guys he's running against in terms of not only his record, just his general charisma and the way he connects with the people, just simply wearing buba and shokoto, if you like. There's hardly any accessories on it. He doesn't wear agbada. People connect with that. Black shoe, black trouser, black buba, same look. It doesn't change anything. So the reality is that what we need to start looking at now is Obi's manifesto. What is his contract with Nigerians? Does he have one? Yes, he speaks clearly about moving the country from production, from consumption to production. He talks consumption to production, talks eloquently about his record when he was in Anambra, which is a very decent record, especially in a country where most of the governors tend to do very little. But you and I will agree that there are other governors who have also done very well. I mean, Fashola in Lagos, Zulum in Borno, even Wike is called Mr. Projects in Rivers. So what Wike did in Anambra is not extraordinary. There are other governors who have done so, who have not run for president, or maybe they didn't get there. But the reality now is what is in his manifesto? Because it's that manifesto that's going to probably propel him to get a significant size of the vote and perhaps force a second round.
Okay, talking about voting now, I'd like to come to Obiora. From the conversation so far, and Tunji also tried to bring in some level of ideology and political platforms and all that, and then try to divorce also the obedient movement from the natural, typical ideology of the Labour Party. Now, and he talked about Obi coming with a simple mien and people connecting with him and all that. And now Nigeria is about 200 million plus people, broken into 6 geopolitical zones. And Obi is from the southeast, where he was governor in one of the states in the southeast, particularly specifically Anambra State. Now, do you think, if you look at Nigeria from 6 geopolitical zones, do you think the obedient movement has connected in every of these geopolitical zones in Nigeria, particularly in the north and northwest and northeast?
Yeah, when you talk of obedient movement, you will see and understand that it has cut across the whole nation. Not only the whole nation, the whole world. All Nigerians in diaspora, they are also obedient. You understand? We are not talking about whether the North or whether the South. We are talking about Nigeria and Nigerians and what they want at this point in time. Everybody needs change. They need governance that will impact positively on people. So it's not about whether it's northern or southern. It's about the whole Nigeria. The geographical geopolitical zone of Nigeria does not apply when it comes to obedience.
But do you think, for instance, the candidate of PDP is from the Northeast, is from Adamawa State?
Yes.
He's been a vice president for 8 years. He was also elected a governor before Obasanjo made him the vice president. And he's also been involved from the political school of late Shehu Musa Yar'Adua. So he's during the 1993 election, he was one of the people that stepped down for Obiora to become the candidate of SDP. So he's quite formidable. He has a strong resume, so to speak, politically. And he's from the north, and he's Fulani. Now, ethnic matters in Nigeria, ethnic groupings matters in Nigeria, so also religion. Do you think this will have any kind of impact against the inroad of obedient movement, particularly in the northern part of Nigeria? And especially if you look at the voting demography, the largest voting bloc is from the northwest, followed by the southwest, followed by the north central, then south, and then the northeast. So when you look at this calculation, because politics is actually a science, so how do you think that the obedient movement can penetrate particularly the northwest and the northeastern part of Nigeria?
As we speak now, obedient movement is already consolidated in all states in Nigeria. Obedient movement is being propelled by the youths. The youths are being very, very affected in this present administration. The youth have been taken backwards. You look at ASU, they are not functional at the moment. Students are not in school. So the people who are widely affected are the youths. The youths have come and they have declared that Peter Obi-DIENT will be the most appropriate people that can take the nation to a very successful state. Nigeria is in a mess. Everybody knows. So it's not about whether Obi is from the north or from the south. The obedient inspiration has cut across the whole nation, and even us in the diaspora have already understood, and we are supporting that Obi and Dati can come on board and bring about drastic change that's been needed at this point in time. The youth have said, and we are supporting the youth. It does not matter whether the northern vote will count or the eastern vote will count. What we are looking at is the acceptance of this presidential candidate from Labour Party, Obi-DIENT. And that is what we are saying. As a member of Vanguard Diaspora, I know that Obi and the DIENT can spring up and give a new structure to bring back Nigeria from the state where it is now. It is in a deteriorating state, and we need a drastic measure. And that measure is let everybody come together, give the support to the Labour Party. It does not matter whether the other opposing parties have been in the government for so long. What matters now is what have they done. Nigeria is in a state where a drastic measure must be taken to ensure that Nigeria does not go down. And I am in support that all the hands will be on deck to ensure that we salvage this situation. The situation is that we all will come out with boldness to ensure that come 2023, Obi and Dati will win the election. Statistically, we look at the north, we look at the south, we look at the political, geographical situation in Nigeria, and we will understand that everybody knows that it's Obi and the Dati. And that is what we are vying for at this point in time. So, in a nutshell, let us know that whatever is happening in Nigeria at the moment, we need a change. A drastic change that we all clamored for since 2015. Okay. And then got to 2019 and up to this stage. We have not seen that change. and everything is like going to a more deteriorating stage. And now is another chance for all of us to come on board to choose the leaders that we know that can bring about transformation in Nigeria. So what Obi was saying is bringing Nigeria from consumption state to production state, and that is what we need.
Talking about the production thing, I'd quickly like to ask Mr. Eze, being the coordinator of OBI-DIENT in South Africa. The diaspora community is a very strong community and a very strong contributor to the Nigerian economy. Now, from just what Mr. Obiora said about production, the CBN governor, Godfrey, last week or 2 weeks ago, said that so far the diaspora remittance is in excess of $2 billion. And as at last year, it was well over $6 billion. And I mean, if you look at in the last 5, 6, 7 years, or rather, if you look at the last 8 years, the diaspora remittance have contributed significantly to the economy of Nigeria. In fact, somebody jokingly said that they should have a line item in the budget of one of our revenue streams should be diaspora remittances. So it's a very strong factor, given the fact that there's a bit of scarcity of dollars in Nigeria and all that. So the CBN so far seems to be. Now, does that economic reality in Nigeria give the diaspora population an advantage, particularly your organization, which is the Obedient Movement and Labour Party, in pushing and influencing the political behavior, particularly voting in Nigeria? Do you think your power as a diaspora and your remittances can affect the Nigerian voting pattern in Nigeria?
Thank you, James. If you listen, like I said last, that the diaspora remittance is the reason why most families are still functioning today. Now, everyone in diaspora has 1 or 2 people they sponsor, either in school, in business, or in feeding otherwise. Now, tell me something. Okay, during the registration exercise, for instance, the youth were mobilized. 70% of the youth don't want to vote. But this time around, you see queues upon queue in registration centers to get their voters card. And I will tell you that 60% of the motivation came from diaspora. Most of us provide transport fares, food at the venue, machines, internet facilities, just to make sure that these youth go out and get their PVC so that this change will be very effective. Somebody asks, the internet media, the youth, the movement, how do you translate them to vote? Number one, we started with getting the youth to go and get their voters card. That is the number one phenomenon. After that, there are programs now, the day and time months to pick up their cards. They are going back to pick up their cards. We are sponsoring this movement from diaspora, knowing that that is our only strength to ensure that Peter Obi and Ahmed Dati are elected as president and vice president. And there's something you need to understand. That's a revolution. I keep saying that. That's a political revolution. We're looking at Peter Obi and Dati. But we have forgotten to understand that this trend has gone down to the grassroots, to the words. And you will get some states that will vote Labour from governor to the ward councillors. And I can give you 1 or 2 states that we have worked hand in hand from diaspora to ensure that the right candidates are enthroned so that they will contest for the next coming election. Take nothing for granted. But the one truth that is clear is that diasporans have done so much to ensure that this movement is a reality. As it is now, we are even paying for sensitization of voters' education so that these women in the village will be able to know what is Labour Party emblem. It's not umbrella, it's not broom. These are people, human beings. These are our structure. You cannot take it away. A lot is happening. And sponsorship are coming from diaspora. We're doing a lot to ensure that in every state, in every locality, that internet problem will not be a problem come 2023 election. These things are coming from diaspora. So you can't take it away from diaspora. Diaspora is like the oil in the engine driving this car. And that is why they can't do without diaspora. 70% of the families in Nigeria are sponsored from diaspora. All the money that Nigeria generates are entering into people's pockets, in the coffers of individuals. Tomorrow you hear that a rat has swallowed 30 billion. You hear that a snake swallowed 100 million because it's going to somebody's account. And the masses are left to die, to starve. Look at what is happening. In which government would you allow your children to stay off school for 7 months? What for?
It's unmanageable. I just wanted to quickly ask, based on the fact that you've spoken very passionately about the diaspora community and the strength that they have in Nigeria, one of the philosophies also of Obi, he said repeatedly in his interviews that the diaspora Nigerians are very strong, and if Nigeria is now expecting revenue stream from the diasporans, it simply means that the education that some of the diasporans had some 10, 20 years ago is what is manifesting into these remittances. Therefore, the government should vote more money in educating Nigerians so that we can export more labor into the diaspora so that they can bring in income. Now, Obi on his own, Obi himself used to be a diasporan. He lived in the UK for a very long time as a businessman. Now, do you think his living in the UK as a diaspora has a connection with the rave of the diaspora? Now, I mean, he was well received in Toronto, in DC, in Atlanta. I think he's in New York today. And of course, I hear you're also preparing his arrival in South Africa. So is it the fact that he lived in the UK as a diaspora, does that in any way also eat into the feelings of the current diasporans now? That's on one leg. Now, on the other leg is that, would you describe Atiku as somebody who lives in diaspora also? Because more often than not, he lives in Dubai. He only comes to contest an election. So how do you reconcile these contradictions and also these similarities? Okay, let me start with Obi. Yes, he lived in the UK. He brought back his business home. But there's one thing that's peculiar in this campaign. I won't call it a campaign yet. There's one thing that's peculiar with this movement to emancipate Nigeria. That is what it is. The funny thing about this is no more centered around Obi. If he said he's not contesting now, he will be dragged out to contest. One thing that is pertinent here is this. The diaspora remittance, the diaspora support is not because he lived in the UK. The diaspora support goes way beyond that. It's because of his transparency. It's because of, we are looking at what this man did when he was a governor. We are looking at his business pattern, how he grew. We are looking at him as an individual. And we're also looking at him as somebody the EFCs has pointed their torchlight on. And they're still looking for it. And they have not been able to come up with anything. Every other candidate has one scandal or the other coming up. Now, me and you live here in South Africa. I've lived in Ireland as well. Every government institution is looking for the best to rule the rest. And that is the mantra. That is the motto. And that is why we are supporting the movement to bring Obi into power. His policies, his ideologies are all clear standard. Every nation that is not productive can never survive. And the fact that he has been pushing it, and he gives you records to go and check, is the fact that we see transparency in this person, and we know that our support will generate and will be better for our future generation, even for ourselves. Me and you cannot go to Nigeria freely now and drive a car and move around. No, if you go, you'll be looking for a rickety car so that they will know that you are the one inside. Otherwise, they carry you immediately. Now, coming to Atiku, you see, Tinubu say, Milokon, it's my turn.
Atiku's matter is in diaspora. If you lose this, if he doesn't win, he go back to Dubai and enjoy himself. He's eating the money he made from me and you. So many things went on during his tenure, and he never achieved any. There are the reasons why we don't have electricity in Nigeria. Can you imagine selling Ajokuta steel to some foreigners? Meanwhile, they mine, they take outside to India, they refine the iron, and we are going there to import iron. How stupid can we be as a nation? So many things have gone wrong. So I don't classify him. He's a diasporan, he's not a diaspora. Whatever he want to be, that is his business. But the point is that this time the narrative are changing. These people have held us hostage for too long. It's time to educate ourselves. Labour Party is a platform that is changing the narrative in Nigeria, and that is how it is.
Okay. Adetunji, Omotola, let me come to you. The two last speakers, particularly Eze, spoke about how the policies of OB can translate, can create employment, so to speak, because if you move from consumption to production, you are basically creating employment. And you also spoke in that line also, and why the people, the youth, are connecting with him, principally because of unemployment and the disappointment that they've had so far from the ruling elite in Nigeria, so to speak, particularly APC and PDP. Now, the youth are very tech savvy. They are very tech savvy. The youth have been mobilized, like Eze said, they were mostly mobilized using the platform of Instagram, Facebook, and social media, essentially. Now, do you think, as a communication person yourself, and that has been in the business of managing communication, political communication and financial communication, do you think that the power of the social media can translate into actual voting by the youth? Because the youth constitute over 60% of the Nigerian population, and the demography also dominates the current voting population. So if they are able to, if people are able to mobilize the youth to vote in a certain pattern, there's going to be an impact in terms of that voting direction. So do you think the obedient movement has the capacity to mobilize the youth, to translate their participation in the social media into actual voting come 2023? And how do you think that can be achieved? Volume. Volume for Tunji. Tunji, can you unmute yourself? Can you unmute yourself?
Okay.
Hello, Tunji, can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I've lost your visual.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, you can go on now.
Okay, good. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
So sorry, the question you asked me is whether the tech savvy youths can, they can convert all that technology skills to actual votes. But before I respond to that, my co-panelist Ikechukwu said a few things that I wanted to correct.
So respond to
the first one. He said that diaspora contributes 70% of the revenue that Nigeria generates. Well, it is the diaspora remittances of about $30 billion or so is equivalent to 70% of Nigeria's budget, not Nigeria's revenue, but Nigeria's budget. Okay, so
the major revenue in Nigeria comes from sales of oil and gas.
Well, no, that's the foreign exchange. 95% of our forex comes from oil, but not the revenue, because we have customs, goods coming in.
Yeah,
there's
local revenue
tariffs,
also.
Corporation tax, MTN pays. Yeah, so there's so many ways that Nigeria makes money, but it's very opaque. A lot of us don't even know what it is. Anyhow, then he also said that the government of President Obasanjo, they didn't give us electricity. Yes, we know that. But the government of Obasanjo also paid off our debts. If you remember the debt buyback, $18 billion was paid off under the aegis of Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who is now the Director General of the World Trade Organization, first female, first Black African. So we don't get a lot of, these governments don't get a lot of credit. And also, if you look at the under Obasanjo, MTN came into Nigeria, and today, MTN Nigeria contributes 30% to the overall group.
And the other telecom companies.
A significant size. Absolutely, but I'm even talking about MTN as a dominant player in that market. But also over and above that, under Obasanjo, if you remember, many people in diaspora, they went back to Nigeria because of the euphoria of the return to democracy, open government, and EFCC was set up. You remember Ribadu going after governors. Yeah. People don't credit Obasanjo for that.
ICPC,
anyway,
EFCC,
so let me go straight into this. Absolutely. So, but then credit because the PDP government, people want to forget about all that. But anyway, so let me go straight to the issue. Look, social media is the most powerful media today because it's personalized, okay? I mean, I have about 5,000 followers on Facebook. That's a lot of people. And I can publish my own information and people follow me and people like me on Twitter. But the reality is that, as Atiku said, if you look at the level of illiteracy in Nigeria, you're not going to get too excited about social media. The level of illiteracy in Nigeria is very advanced, especially in the north, particularly in the core north. Why do you think Boko Haram is thriving in Yobe and Adamawa? It's because so many people there are not educated. And when people are living on less than $1 a day, 70% of Nigerians, let's talk about demography and economics. 70% of Nigerians are still living on less than $1 a day. Where are they going to get money to camp out on YouTube or social media? They simply can't afford it. People can't even afford to buy bread. You're telling me they got to log on. So let's be realistic. Social media is powerful. The educated ones who have data, they're sitting on it and they're on Instagram. But I can also tell you political messages in Nigeria, they go over people's heads. I asked earlier, where is Peter Obi's manifesto? He doesn't have one. He's giving speeches all over the country, all over the diaspora. Let him produce a manifesto. I ran for a small office in South Africa. I had to produce a manifesto. Without a manifesto, where is the contract? So for me, I am excited about Obi being in the ring because he's not one of the old guard, but he hasn't done enough to convince Nigerians that he's got a plan. But he talks a good fight. So I'll leave it there for now.
Okay, let me quickly come to Godfrey. Tunji raised an important point. Of course, he gave the, you can't take away some certain achievements of the Obasanjo Atiku government in 8 years. I mean, you're talking of economy was liberalized, telecommunication revolution, even the power that we're talking about. They set up things like the IPP project and also built a lot of power plant at Papaland to Omotola, Afam and all that. And they did quite a lot. They did quite a lot. And the problem was continuity. Okay, and so we can't take away that impact in that. And the GDP of Nigeria grew, the economy grew significantly. If you remember also that Nigeria was coming from a pariah state. But having said all that, the average Nigerian has seen his fortune decline from the days of Obasanjo to the days of Yar'Adua to days of Jonathan. In fact, under Jonathan, Nigeria became the largest economy in Africa in terms of GDP. Now, under this administration, where Nigerians have seen their fortune decline very significantly, and that also has gone to an average Nigerian living on less than $1 per day. So, particularly in the north, where you have a high level of illiteracy and also out of school children, do you think if at that point the obedience strategy should still be focused on social media, or they should go to the traditional, the age-long radio, political communication, television, newspaper, billboard, particularly in the north? Where do you see the dichotomy and the strength of social media in the face of people not being able to buy data to be on social media, as Tunji had mentioned?
Okay, thank you. Social media, indeed, we play a strategic role, creating versatile public awareness concerning OB and data is very important. But if you look at that social media, we have to also understand that it does not translate to voting. It does not translate to voting in the sense that we need to approach it from the grassroots. We need to endeavor that this message is taken to the grassroots. Yes, when you say that in the North, social media does not strive, yes, there is a point. But how do we tackle the issue? We still have to ensure that the message is being digested and assimilated into the heart of the Northerners who are living in abject poverty. If you look at the southern part of the countries, we know that social media is thriving a lot. All over the world, we know that social media is thriving a lot. But the rate of poverty and they are not going to school, providing adequate school facilities in the North, illiteracy in the North, poverty in the North, and also terrorism in the North with Boko Haram and all whatnot. These are the factors that are taking the Northerners backwards. And then we also need to be educated on what the time is. We need to know what the time is at the moment that the Nigeria needs drastic change. The Obasanjo administration did very well. No doubt about it. They brought strategic transformation in the telecommunication industry in Nigeria. They also ensure that most embezzlement and the people taking money with impunity in Nigeria, they have torchlight on them using EFCC. So there are a whole lot of Obasanjo administration did. They catered down to Yaradua and Goodluck Jonathan. And then after that, when APC took over through Buhari, we saw that the economy began to decline. And the average Nigeria started living with $1 or with less than $1 a day in a country that we have more than enough for everybody to survive. What am I trying to say? The social media will play an important role, but we need to start educating our people to get to the grassroots and translate their support into voting by exercising their civic right during the time of voting. Labour Party has done so well, but it's quite unfortunate that PDP had to leave Obi. It's quite unfortunate. It would have been even better that Obi was in PDP at the moment.
Why do you think so?
With what is going on. Why? What am I saying? PDP has the structure already. They have led the Nigerian government for almost 16 years. So the structure is there. Now, what we are doing now is starting afresh to build up structure through the youth. The youth are 60% of the Nigerian population of more than 200 million people. So we have more than 120 million Nigerian youth. So if we look at that, and this can be translated into voting, exercising their civic right during the time of election, I know that Labour Party will do well. Okay. It's quite unfortunate that P2B was not absorbed in PDP due to what he believed that was going wrong out of his own policy. But I still believe that through the Labour Party, where he is at the moment, and having a very good choice of Yusuf Dati is a strategic approach to ensure that they are enthroned after the 2023 election, presidential election. Right. So it's very important. The social media will play an important role, but then let us go to the grassroots to create versatile public awareness of Labour Party Obi and Dati.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Eze, Obiora talked about structures, so to speak. So the question is that, what is structure? What kind of structure does APC and PDP have that Labour Party does not have? What exactly is the structure? Is structure defined from political office holding, from the local to state to central level, or is structure the individual that wants to go and vote? So what exactly is the definition of structure from your perspective? That's one question. Now, help us also make sense about the sponsorship of the diaspora voter education in Nigeria. You have an urbanized South, the South that is very urbanized, South, South, Southeast, Southwest, very urbanized, a lot more educated people and all that, tech savvy. They're always on Twitter. They're basically just educated and urbanized. And then you have the far north, particularly the far north, that is not necessarily urbanized. It beats peri-urban and also rural in nature, and may not have that kind of access to the social media and all that, and still hold on to some certain sentiments. How do you intend to sell the message to an average Northerner that lives in somewhere in Daura, somewhere in Malumfashi, somewhere in Jigawa State and all that, who may not have the kind of education and also may not have access to the social media? Is part of your sponsorship going to touch on radio messaging, billboard and television messaging in those areas that the youth and the other professionals or the people that are not don't have the kind of access to social media?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I just want to quickly touch base on what Obiora said about Peter Obi would have been better in PDP or not in Labour Party. Actually, we're hoping he will get the ticket in PDP. But you know, that's what we call providence. And when it comes into play, it does a lot of wonders. Coming to Labour Party would be the best thing that happened to Nigerians. Now I will state my facts. Staying in PDP, we are still recycling the same old politicians that have kept us into the mess that we are today. This is why I call it political revolution, is that it's time for them to retire. Let another set revamp the nation. I came out from a meeting before coming here. We were deciding on topics for a function. One of the issues that came up is what? He said, leadership. How does leadership heal our nation? If we keep recycling the old leaders, we will never get healed. If we keep putting, oh, this governor is leaving, he hands over to his henchmen, we are continuing a trend that will never liberate us. So I think it's a good thing that he joined Labour Party, and what is coming under Labour Party are new faces, new forces that are changing, and they will change the narrative in Nigeria to a better Nigeria. Now, let me go back to your question. What is the structure? The structure is me and you, like he always say. But let us not forget that campaign has not started fully. Campaign will start in a month's time or by the end of this month. And every questions about structure, about manifesto, he will have it in full. But just know one thing, is that I can't sleep because I know what to do. I've gone to every state in Nigeria. I know the problem of Nigerians. I know I can fix them. Hungry takes people to the streets. Job and food will obviously take them out of crime. That's my specialty, creating job and wealth. I have not come out for myself. I've come out for the millions of youths that are losing hope in our beloved country. Let me stop there. These are structures. These are the things we are looking forward to. This is what leads us to the total emancipation we talk about. It's not about the speeches. It's not about how eloquent he is. It's about the qualities of what he has done. And that is what we're talking about. This is a man who has taken time traveling around the country. Are we even looking for old men that are sick, that might not even survive the election, to come out and lead us? People that are shaking on feet. I'm sorry to say that. I'm not trying to mock anybody's condition. But what I'm saying is that people must know when to retire so that they will become elder statesmen. People must know when to go home and allow the masses to choose who they want for themselves. P2B, me and you are his structure. The poor man in Nigeria, in South is his structure. The village boy in Daura that has no shoe, that cannot go to school, is his structure. Education, production, these are his structures. Let me tell you how we are sensitizing voters in every part of Nigeria. Number one, I call them food soldiers. These food soldiers are going around. Can somebody mute their phone, please? I think somebody, James, you might control that.
Yeah, I think, Ekene is doing that. Just whoever, I think Galaxy J4 call, if you can mute your phone, please.
Okay, sir.
All right. Okay.
Is it mine?
Thank you very much.
Okay,
now,
yeah.
What am I?
You can continue, Izzy.
Okay, what I'm saying is this. The movement started on social media. But as of today, the movement is on the streets of Nigeria. The movement is in every corner of the country. 1 million march here, you get 2 million people. 500 march here, you get 2 million people. That is the movement that have moved from the face of the phones, from WhatsApp, Instagram, to the street of Nigeria. That is the movement. And everybody that watches television is seeing what the movement is all about. That Nigeria wants to be liberated. The man in Daura, we have been able to have foot soldiers that are going out to these same people. You can see them sometimes. They make video of when they get to those areas, talking to them, telling them about the new change, the new face, the person that will liberate them from their situations. In as much as the Southeast is probably suffering or feeling marginalized, the Northerners are suffering in absolute penury. These people gather together to be fed by one Alhaji, maybe once or twice in a day. They all need education to emancipate themselves. That is the translation of this. That's the translation of social media to the people, because we are also sponsoring people that trek to these places, that transport themselves to these places to speak to the masses that are not on social media. This movement is beyond what Nigeria, what Africa, and what the world have ever seen. It is not a joke. Okay. We are on ground. Thank you.
All right, okay. Mr. Adetunji, if you look at the Peter Obi and his profile, also look at Yusuf Baba Ahmed, also and his profile. Yusuf comes from an illustrious Fulani family in Zaria in Kaduna State, from a very large family. His elder brother is a spokesperson for Northern Elders Forum, Akim Baba Ahmed. He has, I think, a sister that used to be on NTA, Hawa Baba Ahmed. And of course, the father was quite formidable in Barewa College and also instrumental to starting the mosque in Ahmadu Bello University, and also was a supplier to Nigerian Defense Academy. So this is an illustrious family. He was also a personal assistant, or rather a religious advisor to the late Emir of Zauzau also. So do you think the choice of Yusuf Baba Ahmed was strategic for Peter Obi to be able to make an inroad into the core conservative north? And that's one. Then two, do you think Yusuf Baba Ahmed himself, he's the visitor to Base University in Abuja, and also building another Baba Ahmed University in Kano. So that means education is also a passion for him. And Obi talks about education, and Obi is 61. Yusuf, I think, is about 53, 54, thereabout or so. So you are talking of people that can connect with the younger generation that have suffered the brunt of misrule in Nigeria. Now, do you think, outside the fact that the VP choice may be strategic, do you think both combination will be able to impact very seriously across Nigerian youths and the professional middle class?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Well, I wanted to quickly, if you allow me, to respond to both my co-panelists have spoken about OB and PDP in some way. Can I respond to that very quickly for 2 seconds? Is that okay before I answer the question you posed? I just wanted to touch on that. I think that OB leaving PDP, I'll be very honest. In fact, the foundation for him leaving was already laid down by the likes of Dave Umahi. Dave Umahi left for APC, and as a result, even the PDP governors in the Southeast, they became fewer and fewer. So you have Uzodimma in Imo, Abga in Anambra, and then you have Umahi in Ebonyi in APC. So the Southeast, there was a core PDP region, had begun to look less and less, more PDP. So if Obi wanted to then get the ticket in PDP, if he's not able to muscle down his own region, how does he stand a chance of winning at the convention? I'm just talking at it from the angle of positioning. But anyway,
if you can also be very fast, because I'm just being told by the producer that we have about 5 minutes.
Okay, so let me go straight to it. Look, I think the OBI-DIENT ticket is a safe one. If you remember, Dati was in PDP as well, like Obi, and he contested in 2018. I think he got 3 votes in the primaries. Dati is an illustrious, but he's not a politician in the mold of an Atiku or even a Shetima, who was a former twice governor, a city senator, and from a key state like Borno, which is Kanuri, a massive population in those states. Yeah. So Kaduna is a hodgepodge. And also remember, the governor there is quite a centrifugal character in El Rufai. So it's very difficult for Dati to make huge inroads in Kaduna State with El Rufai there. So it's a safe bet, but I don't think he was adventurous enough in picking his deputy. Because Nigerians are not really, they look at the top.
Who would you have suggested?
So people are looking at, well, I can't suggest anybody for Peter Obi. I mean, he's a smart guy, and I'm sure he has political advisors. But I just think that, look, if you want somebody to be your deputy, and you want to, especially from the north, you got to pick somebody that has more political clout and somebody who's more visible, has been in the game, even if he's older than him, because in the end you want to win. But that is an unknown quantity. Most Nigerians don't know him. So that's the problem. He's never been a governor. He's never been a senator. He's never been. So you're just talking about his family pedigree. That doesn't count for anything.
He was in the House of Representatives.
So, but look, but House of Representatives to Vice President is a huge jump. So, but never mind. So I think he's picked his man. He has to own him. But I think they will do well. I mean, it's just that it's difficult, because the 2 guys who are running, they've been in this game for very long, and they understand every trick in the book. So
Tunji, just in one word, do you think
just one of them?
In one word, do you think the OBI-DIENT movement can go beyond 2023, even after the elections?
No, I think the OBI-DIENT movement is here to stay. I think they just have to be very careful not to be attacking people and creating enemies for Obi, because they're very rude and they're very unruly, and they think that once you don't support Obi, you don't care about the country, and that doesn't make any sense. So they will be there for a while because most Nigerians are disgruntled with the status quo.
Okay, Eze, somebody said I should ask you why Labour Party has not brought its working manifesto, so that you do not belabor that question. I think on the 29th of September or so, campaign will start proper. And that is when political parties will present their manifestos and also their social contracts. So that will definitely come. So I just want you to touch base on the future of obedient movement, both in Nigeria and also in the diaspora. If you can do that in 1 minute.
Yes, I will do that. Now the Labour Party is coming together in the structure path. There's a committee that was set up on Thursday, was inaugurated. That's a committee on diaspora affairs. We are working with the committee so that our input will be noticed in Nigeria. That is one. Secondly, there's also a committee created for all the support group. They are working with the coordinators of the support groups so that their input will translate to voters come the election.
Do you think their manifesto will be ready by 29th of September or at least 1st of October?
That is why I did not want to flog the issue.
Okay.
We will come again, but I tell you, the manifesto will be ready come the campaign season.
Okay, and do you want to take the risk of peeping into the manifesto? Will it be left or right, or because OBI is right in terms of ideology and his business conduct, while Labour usually goes with the left? Do you want to give us an idea of what, or you want us to just wait until it is formally launched?
I will not delve into it, but what I know is that the people, the poor masses, the Nigerians, me and you, are the reason why the movement is, and is our emancipation for a better Nigeria. So the manifesto is dealing with the issues that put Nigeria to where it is today.
Okay, talk to your supporters. Are you going to bring Peter Obi to South Africa?
We are working on that, and by his grace, he will be with us by next month. Okay,
that's great. So I'll close with Obiora, who is in. I started with you, and I'll close with you being in the studio with me. Ikechukwu is just promised that Obi will be, and I know you are also involved in the diaspora vanguard and all that. So are you working with Eze to ensure that Obi comes to South Africa, and what will be the plan when it comes to South Africa?
Yes.
Or are there other activities that you are planning in South Africa with Eze to be able to push the Obi agenda in South Africa?
Of course, there are several pressure groups, that have voluntarily come out to support this mandate we are giving Obi. It's a revolutionary mandate that the youth have come out to support Obi, and that's it. We are working together. Whichever group, even the Labour Party here in South Africa, the Obedient group, KZN movement, Vanguard, Diaspora Vanguard, South Africa. All of us are working in collaboration.
So you're planning planning something in Durban?
We are planning something in Durban to ensure that we create a versatile public awareness, sensitize all the Nigerians in KwaZulu-Natal.
So you'll also bring Obi to KwaZulu-Natal?
We are looking at bringing Obi also in KwaZulu-Natal. Obi will not only end up in Johannesburg, like what Eze is saying. No, we will also ensure that we bring him to Durban, and also he travels to Cape Town to address our people in a town hall meeting.
So those are the three major cities.
These are the plans we are putting on the ground to ensure that when he arrives, all Nigerians can be able to see him and they also pass across information to him. Obi is not a one-man riot. Obi is being supported by the youth. You understand, especially Nigerians in diaspora. Most of us who are in diaspora, we are not here because we want to leave Nigeria. It's the situation of the country in Nigeria. So once things are being done and done appropriately in Nigeria, most of us will return back home and give back what we have learned from the Western world, inject it into Nigeria and transform Nigeria. Nigeria will become a very good place to stay. So we are planning in collaboration with Labour Party South Africa, Obedient Movement Group in KZN, and Vanguard South Africa. That is a Diaspora Vanguard South Africa. to ensure that when Obi arrives, everybody will have access to speak to him and interact with him in a town hall meeting.
Okay, all right. I'd like to thank my panelists for a very exhaustive conversation about the candidacy of Peter Obi and also the OBI-DIENT movement and the political platform called Labour Party. You'll agree that it's a bit difficult to exhaust the conversation about Nigerian political future in 1 hour, 30 minutes. But one thing that I do promise is that we'll come back again. It is moving from a movement to becoming a revolution. I had wanted to also talk about the place of Sowore, for instance, who was touting revolution sometime last 2 years or so. Is it aligning with Obi, or the Obi revolution seems to have overtaken the Sowore kind of revolution? The kind of how is this Obi-DIENT movement making impact in the Southwest, particularly Lagos, where Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has his forte. But Lagos is the demography is quite wide. It's an urban area. Will Asiwaju still be able to hold his own in Lagos? So as we wind down this particular episode, these are things that we need to chew. And I only would want to ask my panelists that when I invite them again, they can come back so that we can have a further conversation on the issues and perhaps look at the things that would have, maybe when Obi even comes, as they have promised that they're going to bring Peter Obi to South Africa, we'll be able to also have an interview with Peter Obi so that he can also talk to us in South Africa about his plans in Nigeria. Like Obiora said, so many people are waiting for him to get into the government, and then maybe an El Dorado will happen, and then a lot of people will go back to Nigeria to take their skills and their talent back there. But we'll wait to see how that pans out until that conversation holds, until the election also holds, and we'll see how it goes. But we do promise that we'll come back to have another conversation on the political future of Nigeria, maybe look at also some other candidates. Until that, my name is James Akpan of Akpan's Diary, signing out from Age Television, and also want to quickly say thank you to our sponsors, Somerset Wine and also GP Garnet. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much and have a good evening.